Greetings and salutations, Scribblers. If you've been keeping up with our beta reading series, today we're going to tackle how to write and organize an edit letter. As you build your writing community, you're going to be asked to read your peers' works and provide feedback. Taking the time to think about how you're going to organize that feedback will not only help you to be more effective in your reading, but it's going to help the person you're reading for better understand your feedback. So this is a really important skill to kind of think about and to get good at as you continue to write throughout the years. So as you're reading, we're just going to start by saying, I recommend that you take notes to remind yourself of what's standing out to you and what you want to share with the author. So this could just be notes like on a notepad that you keep. You could have a Google Doc that you open up. Maybe you're leaving inline comments. But just make sure that as you're reading, you're keeping track of the things that stand out to you. So this is also going to include any notes on specific questions that may have been that you may have been asked to read for. And then once you're finished reading, you have all of your notes, you're ready to start writing your official edit letter. There are countless ways to organize this. I'm going to share one way. Feel free to make any adjustments based on your feedback style and the needs of the author. Just like everything else in writing, this isn't a one-size-fits-all process. So when I write my edit letters, the first thing I always want to do is I want to start with my opening. And my opening always has 3 distinct parts to it. The first thing I do, part 1, is always me thanking the author for allowing me to read and give feedback. And I know you're thinking, but they asked me, why am I thanking them? Because they trusted you to read their work and offer feedback, and that is a big deal. Thanking them for allowing you to read is just a recognition of that trust and the sincerity that you have in approaching the task. No matter how you may actually feel about the manuscript that you've read, always say thank you. You may choose to never beta read for this person again because the two of you just don't mesh on a creative level, and that's fine. But that's also not a reason to be discouraging or impolite. So always just say thank you. So that's your first part. Your second part is, once you've thanked them, is to give your overall impression or thoughts. So what did you love? What did you want more of? Where do you feel that they should focus their revision efforts? You're not going to elaborate here. This is kind of just like a little bit of a teaser before the rest of your edit letter is written for what's going to come. This section should also, I feel, be written with an emphasis on positivity and encouragement. This isn't where you want to dive into any glaring issues that may be found in the manuscript. You really want to focus on the things that you liked, or just oh, I really love this character. I wish we had seen more of them. Things like that. Because you want to, you want to start this off well. You want to have a positive vibe going into this edit letter, right? So that's your second part. Your third part is a reminder to the reader that you are only one opinion, that the author should take what resonates with them and leave what doesn't. This might seem like a no-brainer, but putting in the letter really reminds the author that they ultimately have control of the story. And you, as the beta reader, acknowledge that you aren't the end-all, be-all of feedback. So giving and receiving feedback can be really touchy sometimes. This helps to remind both people that it's just one person's thoughts. Of course, depending on your relationship with the author, you might offer for them to contact you with questions, or offer them help with brainstorming or talking through any of the feedback. So once you've done all of those 3 things, so you've thanked them, you've given a brief summary, and then you reminded them that, you know what, hey, if you don't agree with what's in here, that's cool. You're the author. You can make whatever choices you want. Now you're ready to move into the meat of the edit letter, right? So this is where you're going to want to hit on the main elements of plot, character, world building, pacing, all those big things. What I do is I recommend making a bold title and then typing up your notes in paragraph form underneath. You can put these in any order that you want. I personally try to put them in the order of the most significant feedback to the least. So for example, if a manuscript I was reading needed to really focus on revising the world building, I would start there and then move through the rest in the order that I think needs the most attention to the least attention. Again, that is just how I organize things because that's how my brain works. But you can do whatever works for you. If you always want to do plot, character, world building, regardless of where those rank in the order of attention that they need, go ahead, do that. It is your choice. From there, as you get into these main story elements, there's going to be a significant number of them that kind of overlap. So really try to keep it organized between the element that you are focused on. Characterization and character arcs are always closely related to plot points, for example. So as you write your letter, you're going to want to try and keep the bits that are specifically about character arc in the character section, and those that are tied more closely in with the plot in the plot section. And that could sound a little bit confusing, but it'll make sense once you start doing it. So if you can just try to separate out, like, this is more of a plot issue than a character issue, or this is more of a character issue than a plot issue. They're going to perhaps be mentioned in both places, but you're really going to focus your feedback in one of those areas over the other. So as you go through, you're going to see some overlap, things like that. As you work through this bit of the edit letter, make sure that it's balanced between what you liked and what worked and what you feel might need some revision. Always keep in mind that your goal with the edit letter, with your beta reading, is to help that writer realize the truest version of their story. You want them to feel encouraged, regardless of how much work might be needed on their manuscript. All right, so now we've finished with all the big story elements. You can dive into the more nuanced pieces of your feedback. And again, you're going to want to divide these into sections, just like you did with the main points. You're going to try to organize them in whatever fashion you need to for the feedback that you're giving. So you might have a section specifically on religion or clothing or the romance subplot in the story. These should be the pieces that stood out to you as needing work in some way, as needing a little bit more clarification, more development, or maybe just even more time on the page. Sometimes, depending on the story, I'll make a list at the end of specific things that I love. So this could be a few quotes, some character moments, a specific plot detail or point. And this, for me, is a really great way to end an edit letter on a very positive note. And it helps let the author know that what you really jived with, what you really liked about it, and what worked for you, like what stood out as just being like the shiniest bits. So that's a really nice thing. Again, because you've started out, you have that introduction with your overall thoughts, which again is going to have that positive light to it. You kind of get into the nitty gritty and say, oh, here's where I think you really need to do some work. And here's why. Then we get to the end and you just it's like that compliment sandwich, right? So you start with some compliments and you end with some. And it's just a nice way to do it because it reminds that author that there were so many good things in their manuscript. Because so many times when we get an edit letter, we focus on these are the things I need to fix, instead of focusing on, here's the things that they said that were really good and I should celebrate those. All right, so now you have your edit letter all typed up. Don't send it. Save it, walk away, and come back to it in 24 hours or 48 hours. And then you're going to read through it again. Make sure that it not only does it make sense, but that it is encouraging and positive. So I don't think I can say this enough. This will vary based on kind of who you're beta reading for and the relationship that you have with them. But if there's anything in the edit letter that you wouldn't want said to you in the way that you're saying it, then you need to either rephrase it or take it out. This is always, for me, this is a tough one because I like things really straightforward and blunt. So when I write an edit letter, I have to read back through several times because I can't necessarily use myself as a touchstone for whether or not the feedback is too intense. Because that's just how I prefer it. I want something really blunt, really straightforward. Tell me exactly what it is that you think is an issue and why. And not everybody wants that. Some people want it much gentler than that. So you have to kind of be aware of who you're reading for and what their preferences are. All right. Once you've let it sit for at least a day and you've reread it, now you can send it. Also of note, edit letter formatting is different than manuscript formatting. So manuscripts are double spaced, all these other things. An edit letter tends to be single spaced. The sections are divided by headers and extra spaces. Depending on the length of the work that you've read, your edit letter is going to be several pages long. For a manuscript that's over 60,000 words, I'm easily into the teens, 13 to 15 or more pages when I write an edit letter. Although I also do tend to have a lot to say. I like to give lots and lots of feedback, and I really like to explain myself, especially if it's somebody new that I'm working with. When I have the people I'm in my writing group that have more established relationships with, they're going to get a shorter edit letter because I don't have to explain why or like where I'm coming from as often, because like we know each other and they know why I'm going to be saying what I'm saying. So you're looking at writing like single spaced, again, like a 9 to 15 page edit letter for a full length manuscript. My final tip for writing a solid edit letter is to be clear and explain yourself. So I just kind of talked about this when I talked about my style. This is especially important when you start out with a new beta partner. Giving your feedback, you need to try to do your best to explain your reasoning and thinking on why you felt that way. Why was it that something really worked for you? Why did something not work for you? Because that's going to allow that author to now say, okay, so now I can understand their reasoning, and they can either agree with you or they can say, you know what, I feel like this is an isolated thing. I don't want to do this. So I understand this person is really into intense world building and really wants that. But I'm really doing a soft world building here, so I don't need to go that deep into it. But being clear in your feedback and why you're giving that feedback can allow the author to make those informed decisions and then make the best version of their revision plan and go forward and do what they need to do. And of course, always continue to be kind. You're building community and everyone is always learning. So when one person succeeds, we all do. So you always want to be encouraging and be kind, because your goal is to help them find and create the best vision of their work. And that's what you would want for yourself. So you want to be able to pay that forward and do that for other people. If you're looking at an edit letter and you're feeling overwhelmed about tackling that revision, just be sure to check out the revision course that is offered by the Scribblers Den, or contact us to find out about our coaching or editorial services. All the links are right down below in the description, and we look forward to going on your writing journey with you. All right, that's our video for today. You now all know the basics of writing a solid edit letter. So thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and we'll see you next time. Happy writing.